All right, let's talk about a tool that's behind basically countless logos, icons, and illustrations you see every single day, Adobe Illustrator. But what is it really? And what makes it so powerful? Let's dive in. To really get what makes Illustrator so special, we first have to talk about a problem. A really common problem that I guarantee you run into, whether you're a designer or not. It's the problem with pixels. I mean, come on, we've all been there, right? You find a small logo online or maybe a picture. You try to make it just a little bit bigger for a presentation, and boom, it suddenly looks like a mess of jagged, blurry blocks. It's super frustrating, and there's a very specific reason why it happens. So, most of the images we deal with day to day, like photos from your camera or a JPEG you find on the web, are called raster images. The easiest way to think about them is to picture a giant grid, kind of like digital graph paper. Every single tiny square on that grid is filled with one specific color, and we call those little squares pixels. So here's the catch. When you try to stretch a raster image, you're not actually adding any more detail. You're just making those individual colored squares bigger. The computer has to guess how to fill in the new, bigger space, and the result is that blurry, blocky effect we all hate. And that effect has a name. It's called pixelation. But what if there was another way? A way to create images that just didn't have this problem? What if you could make a piece of art that could be scaled from the size of a postage stamp to the size of a billboard with absolutely zero loss in quality? Well, there is. And that is the technology that makes Illustrator possible. It's the vector graphics solution. This right here, this is the whole ballgame. While raster images are built from that fixed grid of pixels, vector graphics are built from something totally different. Mathematical paths. Seriously. Instead of remembering millions of tiny colored squares, the computer just remembers a formula for a line, a curve, or a shape. And because it's all just math, you can scale a vector graphic as big or as small as you want, and the computer simply recalculates the paths. The result? Your artwork stays perfectly sharp and crisp at any size. No pixelation, ever. This is the absolute superpower of vector graphics. So, to put a bow on it, vector graphics use math to draw shapes. And this incredible, infinitely scalable technology is the entire foundation that Adobe Illustrator is built on. It's where all the magic comes from. Okay, now that we get the why, let's take a look at the how. What are the actual tools inside Illustrator that let designers use the power of vectors? Illustrator is famous for its precision. The pen tool is like a surgeon's scalpel. It gives you absolute control over every single point and curve. The shape builder lets you combine simple shapes to make really complex new ones. And the curvature tool, well, it just makes drawing smooth, elegant lines feel incredibly easy. But it's not just about shapes. Illustrator's control over text and color is just next level. You can make text flow along any curve you can imagine using type on a path, and for color, you can create these beautiful, smooth gradients or use the industry-standard Pantone colors to make sure your design looks exactly the same in print as it does on your screen. And here's the thing, it doesn't exist on its own island. Illustrator works perfectly with other Adobe programs, like Photoshop and InDesign. You can design a logo in Illustrator, pop it into a brochure in InDesign, and then export it for print, for the web, for a video. Whatever you need, it's ready to go. Okay, so we've got the technology, we've got the tools, but what does that really mean in the real world? What are people actually making with this software every day? Well, the answer is pretty much anything that needs to be clean, scalable, and precise. Think about company logos that have to look sharp on a business card and a billboard, or beautiful, complex digital art, the icons on your phone and the infographics you see online. Posters, flyers, all of that stuff is the bread and butter of Illustrator. This incredible versatility and power brings us to our final and maybe most important point. You'll often hear Illustrator called the industry standard, but what does that really mean? Being the industry standard basically means it's the tool that professionals expect you to know how to use. It's the benchmark for quality and what's possible. When design agencies are hiring or collaborating on projects, this is the software they're using. It's the common language. And that's really the bottom line. Illustrator became the standard because it delivers on its promise. It gives professionals that perfect combination of total creative freedom to imagine anything and the surgical precision to execute that vision perfectly. So that's the power of Illustrator. It's the pro tool built on the flawless logic of vector graphics. It unlocks the ability to create clean, sharp, and infinitely scalable artwork for almost any purpose imaginable. Now that you know the secret behind it, the only question left is, what would you create?